All right, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the Pro Zone. This is Rick. Joining me is Dan the Beast, and we got Wrestling Rampage here as some guests. What's going on, gentlemen?
Not much. Good.
Doing good.
Good, good.
Yeah.
So, take it away, Dan.
All right, guys. I asked Joey last night to be a part of the show because I wanted you guys on the show for a long time now. You guys always been so good to me, always answering my questions. Giving me shout outs. Sorry, Tommy, I didn't wear the gray shirt with the the water streaks going down, but
That's
next
all
time.
good.
Yeah, guys. I just want to say thank you for coming on to the show. So, big topic of discussion here on the latest show. I know Rick, you and DVD Freak were talking about, like the matches that are possibly coming up for like WrestleMania. Obviously, there's been talks about like Edge taking on Orton for the WWE title. Which, first of all, I really don't think those guys need a WWE title match. I mean, I think Edge is.
I think I agree with you. I don't think that needs to be a WWE title match. I think that, I don't think that Orton, rather, needs to be having the title on him again for, was it the 14th time? And Edge, I believe, just does not need to be involved in the title picture whatsoever.
Right. And something else I wanted to bring up, guys were talking about, obviously like the Royal Rumble, which leads to a title opportunity. Obviously there's been talks about Dwayne and Roman, and then obviously Randy and Orton and Edge, as I just said later before. But something that came to mind that happened last year, or this past year, I should say, for the Women's Royal Rumble. Obviously, we've seen Charlotte win the Royal Rumble match, and she didn't go for a main roster title, but she ended up going for the NXT Women's Championship. I was possibly thinking, what would you guys think if that same rule applied for the men's? Like, what if a man Royal Rumble winner, instead of going for the Universal WWE Championship, we actually see like an NXT main event storyline?
My question is, are they going to involve NXT in any storylines? Because so far, according to like what the build-up for Survivor Series, NXT is not involved, and the rumor is that Vince is, not really interested in working with NXT right now.
But you know what? But here's the thing, though. Like, it doesn't even have to be the main event. It doesn't have to be the main event. Obviously, you got your two main events right there, possible main events. I mean, obviously, Charlotte and Rhea Ripley weren't the main event, but if you guys, gave like an opportunity to somebody like, I don't know, maybe like Kevin Owens or Daniel Bryan, since this is his last full-time run, have Daniel Bryan go down to NXT, work with some of the young guys, put some of the young guys over.
What do you guys think?
I agree with that, but like I said, I don't know why Vince don't want to associate with NXT much. I don't know. I think he's just worried, like, let me just worry about my show Raw and SmackDown. I'll be NXT's just the C show. I'll just let that go. That's what I think Vince is saying. Agreed. Yes, agreed.
I think that's definitely what his thing is. But if you guys listen to Busted Open this morning, they were saying that, people are basically, you can tell that people are just in the Thunderdome. They just look bored. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but
oh my
it's like
goodness.
it's a whole different world once you watch NXT. Everything's faster paced, and and Bully Ray made a good point. Why can't Vince just make that kind of product that he puts out on Wednesdays on a Monday to keep people interested in Monday Night Raw? The ratings are declining drastically each and every week. It's the lowest every single week. It keeps getting lower and lower.
Yeah, and you could tell the people in Thunderdome. You could tell they're like, this is the boringest stuff I've ever seen. You like Thunderdome?
Yeah. So laughable.
They're like, give us something good, please.
For the most part, I try to give Raw and SmackDown a chance at least, I usually end up shutting it off or falling asleep. So
Only two options.
yeah, well, and then I'll watch it the next day and fast forward through everything. So
I go on YouTube and watch the little skits and stuff like that right there they do.
yeah,
And that is boring enough to me. But anyway, so.
I don't understand because he's got an amazing roster. It's just he's using it, and he's got like a toilet humor sense of humor, and that comes out drastically as well.
This is probably like the best rosters he's had for a long time.
Right.
And he just basically just doesn't care.
Well, it's like I've said before. He has got a full roster there loaded with talent. The trouble of it is he don't want to use that.
No, he'd rather put on Law and Otis.
Yeah, whatever that right there means. Anyway,
Yeah, he'd rather put on the People's Court with fucking Otis, for God's sake.
Oh my God, that was just horrific.
That was the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And the thing with the Raw and the SmackDown, he, before even the inception of AEW started, he was signing every single big indie talent that there was to make sure that they didn't sign with another company like New Japan or the rumors of another company starting, which was AEW, etc. So, now he just would sign them and keep them in catering. You know what I mean? So guys like EC3, Eric Young, names like that.
Yeah. And Eric Young, he's been on a really good role in Impact.
I'm sorry.
He's been on a tear.
I've said this before. I don't mean to interrupt you. I've said this before. He's loaded with talent. The trouble of it is, even when the people get to NXT, what do they do there? They put them out there out front there, and they push them and push them. Next thing you know, when they get to a point, they pull the rug out from them. What's the sense in that?
The same thing when they end up on the main roster. Look at every guy they've taken from NXT. Who from NXT that they have on Raw and or SmackDown are they actually pushing?
None.
Think about it.
Probably the only one I see they did push was Drew McIntyre. That was about it.
McIntyre was a main roster guy prior to coming back in NXT. So, personal opinion, that doesn't count. You get what I mean? But look at who else?
Maybe,
everybody that comes from NXT he buries. But I'm trying to think. I just had the name in my head and I can't remember who I was thinking of.
Yeah, I have to agree. It could be either Bailey or Sasha Banks.
Those are good names. Yep, to choose. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty good, but the man, oh my goodness.
You know what? I think the biggest struggle with this year's roster is kind of like reminiscing back to 2001, 2002, where you acquire so many big talents. You have so much, but yet you're not utilizing all your guys,
Right.
So obviously everybody's not getting their TV time. That's why so many people are either leaving. Their creative control is practically lackluster by the control of either Vince or Triple H. And, that's kind of what dwindles the roster down. And I think the biggest thing or the biggest problem is Vince focuses on guys that he builds, not guys who are already well established.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the best way I would see it, NXT right now, you have a third brand. You're practically showcasing it on a live televised broadcast. So why not take some of these guys that you're not using and put them on NXT instead of bringing all these guys from UK or even just bringing guys from the main roster back down to where they started without utilizing them as development. Obviously they're pretty well developed.
Yeah. But I've said before too, if you're not going to use me on the main roster, put me back in NXT.
Right. Exactly. I think that's where what's his name, Finn Balor, decided to go back down there. who else went back down there recently? Somebody just popped up there. Who was it?
Fandango and
Tyler
Tyler
Breeze
Breeze.
and Fandango.
Yep, Breezango ended up going there, and I think look at that. It ended up for the better for them. You know what I mean? They're being used each and every week in the storylines. So it's definitely NXT is definitely the better for some people.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're not going, they should bring some of the guys that they're not using to NXT to give them some time to be on television.
Right. And even when this pandemic started, they started bringing guys up from NXT, putting them on Raw and SmackDown. Guys like Oney Lorcan, Angel Garza, Austin Theory, all that guys like that. And look at most of those guys ended up back in NXT now.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't think he knows what the hell he's doing. Period. Seriously, he's just scrambling to try to figure out how to create his product or how to create the most boring product there is.
It's like Vince has old timers. Like he don't know how to use talent anymore.
Right. I just think that he's so used to creating a product a certain way, and if you realize that each and every year that he makes another business deal, whether it be Saudi Arabia, Fox, some sort of entertainment, and he's trying to sell to advertisers, he changes the rules in his way of promoting and producing a show each and every year with more and more ridiculous rules and glamour and glitz and production. And it makes the product more watered down and less appealing to the actual hardcore wrestling fans, such as guys like us.
Yeah.
Which is why I say, if you're going to use NXT, you can make a storyline. Have somebody win the Royal Rumble this coming year, and have them headline for the NXT title for WrestleMania, or at least part of that event. At least it doesn't have to be the main event, because obviously Vince is going to be like, I want Roman and Dwayne, or I want whoever. But still, I mean, if you have somebody win the Rumble like Daniel Bryan, who probably should have won the Royal like 6 or 7 years ago, or like Kevin Owens, if you're gonna broadcast NXT live on TV, let them have their pay-per-view time.
And the
Daniel Bryan. Go ahead. Sorry.
The bad part is NXT's takeover shows are way better than what WWE puts on pay-per-view.
They're better than any pay-per-view they put out every single year, or every single month, or what are they doing? Quarterly or something like that? Every single one that they go up against, they're the better show. God's honest truth. They always have been. The best guys. Like there's certain guys in NXT right now that I think, and I heard about it on the radio today as well, that Damian Priest has the look of somebody that Vince likes. That he might actually survive if he goes to the main roster and end up being pushed towards a huge title run, because he's big and he's talented, and he can move around.
Talk to.
Yep.
But honestly, for the way I see it, I mean, going into next year, I think Daniel Bryan should go down there, since this is going to be like his last full-time contract. And the fact that he's already part of the SmackDown creative team. He's already doing stuff backstage.
So he's going to take an office position, most likely.
Right.
Like.
So, sad enough, he's already corporate. So that's a bad sign right there. But other than that, I mean, I'd rather see Daniel Bryan go down to NXT, work with some of the younger talent, bring some of those younger talent over to the main roster, and then, whether he likes the guy or not, he could just put in a good word to Vince, like, hey, I want this guy on SmackDown. I could do something with him.
Right.
So it'll all work out in the end.
So DVD Freak and I, was it 2 nights ago, were discussing who we thought would be a good opponent for Daniel Bryan in his last match, which would probably most likely be at a WrestleMania, so he could take the L. We listed off a bunch of guys that we thought would be possible for him to elevate, or if he, was going to have a one-off with a returning friend. Who would you guys like to see in that final match?
That's a tough one.
It is.
Really is.
We spent the whole hour talking about this the other night.
I'm gonna have to go because he's floundering on SmackDown. He is.
Yeah.
That's Shinsuke Nakamura.
That's actually, if they give them like a full, like let them go for about 20 minutes, and let Nakamura wrestle the style that he wrestled prior into coming into WWE, like when he was in New Japan.
Yeah.
Don't let him do the WWE polished up thing. Just let him go the way he knows.
Yeah. I have to go with Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah. That's a good one. What about you guys?
I'm going to go with Tommy here. That's who I believe.
All right.
That or I would, if I like to see him take on somebody. Now, once again, I'm not sure what show he's on. I like to see him versus Keith Lee.
That was actually, I'm going to tell you, that was actually my pick because I'm a huge Keith Lee fan. And right now they're not doing any Keith Lee any justice. They brought him in strong and now they're kind of ruining him week by week. But I figured that they can get that back if they have him go out there and put on a good, solid match. And I think that would help elevate Keith Lee in that WWE next level and push him towards that title picture. And make him a huge star.
On Raw. It's sad.
They already ruined Chicky Nakamura. They already ruined it.
Absolutely they did.
They already ruined it for him.
The figure skater now, right?
When I saw that right there, I just put my head like this right. Oh my God, what are they doing to that man?
Well, there's certain guys like, Keith Lee was allowed to be himself in NXT, but there's one guy that I'm going to say that they haven't necessarily ruined that has been in the WWE product with Cesaro. He pretty much wrestles the same style. He's been wrestling since he was on the Indies, and he still goes out there and he can have the best match of the show no matter who he's wrestling. He could be wrestling a paper bag and he'd be putting on the best match of the show.
Yeah. And I just thought it was weird. I was like, why the heck? It's Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro teaming up. It makes no sense.
No.
Well, the two are very talented, and obviously, like a good oddball pairing. Sometimes it could work.
Yeah.
And obviously they're from. I don't know. I'm a fan of both of them. Both of them have spent extensive times outside of WWE wrestling, and they just put two good wrestlers that are very capable of putting on quality matches together.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I could think about,
Now, I know the bad part. I know the tag team division on SmackDown is bad. I know that.
I think NXT probably once again has the better tag team. The roster right now. I think, and my guys won the tag titles. Birch and Orkin. I've been a huge fan of those guys for many years. Yeah. So, however, Pat McAfee's on, so the guy sucks. I can't stand that guy.
I can't either. Take your ass back to your shitty fucking radio.
Yeah, he doesn't ever respond to my tweets when I start talking shit about him for some reason. I try to get his attention, but he ignores them all.
talking about like opponents for like Daniel Bryan, farewell match, you actually stole my answer there with Cesaro. Just because I just feel like he's been so underutilized practically his whole career.
In
Obviously,
WWE,
yeah. I mean, he's practically been a tag team specialist. I mean, I definitely want to see him as a single superstar. Obviously, he's had those opportunities, whether, some of those opportunities have been shot down, whether it's injury prone or just throwing them in another, unique tag team, which turns out either shit or too many long tag team runs that shouldn't have been that long, Probably should have been like a year or two and then cut it, But,
you know what I just thought of is, sorry, Dan. You know what I just thought of, and they had a few matches earlier in the year against each other. What happens if him and Drew Gulak started wrestling again, feuding again? Or those guys are two of the greatest technical wrestlers around, and Gulak is, I mean, he's amazing. So I think
he was on the pre-show of that WrestleMania. I was like, that's disappointing.
I could not believe that was on the pre-show of WrestleMania. That was some horse shit right there, because that should have been high up on the card, considering it's Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak. I mean, he might not have that main event appeal to the audience, to the public, but that guy can go and put on. I'd like to see a good run of him, say in New Japan or something like that, because I think that guy would tear it up down there.
Oh yeah.
You know what? I tell you what, if my prophecies come true when it comes to Daniel Bryan possibly heading down to NXT, two guys that come to mind right away are probably like him versus Kyle O'Reilly or Roderick Strong.
They've wrestled before, him and Roderick Strong, I believe, on Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
So I'm going back a way number of years ago, but yeah, I mean.
And I think another good match would probably be good with Daniel Bryan in NXT would probably be these two, is Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano.
Those are my other two choices the other day. Yeah, with those two. And I think through the discussion that Gargano would probably be the one that would get the match out of the two. You know what I mean? Because I feel like Gargano's just kind of like he's one of those guys. He's always got the same face on. Kind of. There's nothing that's elevating him. He's just but he's that resonant.
Yeah.
Workhorse for the company. You know what I mean? So that's why he's there. But I think that if he put on go for 30 minutes with Daniel Bryan, he would that would elevate him as well to that next level and take him out of that that phase of his career.
And him and Tommaso Ciampa had great matches.
Oh my God, yeah.
Man.
That series was amazing that they had. Yeah.
To me, it catapulted Johnny Gargano up to like a superstar status, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm just kind of in the middle with him because I just think that he doesn't. You just can't get past that.
Yeah.
That level. You know what I mean? Like, but he puts on
American title kick.
Yeah, but exactly. But he puts on great matches. You know what I mean? With just about anybody that he goes in there against. Right.
So talking about possibilities now, let's shift over to the next topic of discussion here. Talking about your favorite women's wrestler and probably what I would consider maybe the best modern day women's wrestler right now is Thunder Rosa. Where do you guys think she's going? Obviously, there's been speculation about possibly her joining WWE. The only reason I would think, she could have at least stayed with AEW is because, obviously they allowed her to bring the NWA title onto television.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, I'd like to see her down in WWE, but obviously there's always those times where it's like you see somebody big going down and they either go through the development of character change, name change, and nobody likes to see that. I mean, look at guys like Matt Riddle. Now he's just known as Riddle. Like, what the fuck is it? Batman?
The Riddler.
Oh,
yeah. So, when it comes to Thunder Rosa, the rumor is that she's just Billy Corgan has come out and debunked the rumors that she's leaving in the NWA, but that she's just trolling the fans, trolling the dirt sheets, and that it was he's come out and said she's under contract to 2021 and that she's not leaving, but she he allows his wrestlers to work other territories. Like, remember, he had the Ring of Honor agreement right up until the pandemic started. They were starting that thing where Marty Scurll was head booker for Ring of Honor until the pandemic, and then all that crazy shit came out about him. Now he's not involved with Ring of Honor at all. And what's the other thing? So he allows his wrestlers to work elsewhere, independent dates, because they would only do TV tapings once every 3 months and then a pay-per-view until they started running shows. And then they would run one random spot show. So my guess is that working with AEW and Primetime Live, the UWN Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and stuff like that, it allowed his wrestlers to go find work and get paid as well and be able to make a living outside of working for the NWA for other promotions and selling merchandise at shows, etc. My guess is when the NWA starts doing Power again, that she's definitely going to return. When they start doing their own TV, she's definitely coming back to Primetime Live, from what I hear. If she was going to go anywhere, I wouldn't mind seeing her go to NXT, to be honest. As long as they let her keep her character and have somewhat creative control in her character rather than ruin the character at all, because the character is what makes her right now. If not, then I think that, because honestly, because NXT has the best women's roster today. AEW's women's roster could, maybe she would help boost that up, but I think honestly NXT would be the better choice. But it all comes down to money and who's going to throw the most money at her.
Yeah, I've said it before. I'd love to see her in Impact. I think Impact's doing really good right now, especially when it comes to all their divisions. Obviously, there's some, there's been some head scratches with some of their champion decisions. I'm not going to get into that.
They've always been that way, though. Yeah.
Right. But I tell you right now, if what, I can already call it, but like if Thunder Rosa were to go down to NXT, she'd probably be partnered up with that what's that Mexican group? The Phantasmo group, I think it's called.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Probably be some type of like ballet, just have some type of like Latin faction going on. I'd like to see that before she actually starts to, catapult as a single superstar in WWE. So
the Latino World Order. Never mind.
No.
You don't remember that in WCW?
Yeah.
My favorite was El Bandy.
Yeah, there you go. He's actually not that bad. I didn't realize how old that guy was until recently, and I saw somebody did a shout out birthday for him, and he's up there. I thought he was quite young, but anyways. Another woman that has not popped up again since that is former Impact World Champion is Tessa Blanchard. That's another one I'd like to see pop up in either AEW or NXT. Those are my two favorite women's wrestlers today, Thunder Rosa and Tessa Blanchard. And Tessa Blanchard has pretty much disappeared. She did that one autograph signing for High Spots and then hasn't been anywhere else. No bookings, no. I heard that she was speaking with NXT a while back, but I don't know how true that was. So I'd like to see her pop up in either AEW or NXT.
Yeah.
Right. If Tessa or Thunder Rosa, if either one of them signed to AEW, they will be the biggest stars that
absolutely
AEW has signed for a women's
because
that all women's wrestling has to offer.
Yeah, well, all AEW's women's division is suffering dramatically, but it's being booked by Kenny Omega, who is just basically that's a problem definitely, because the only people he's bringing over is like the women from Japan. He's not really searching for the best women out there. NXT has the best women's roster there is out there today.
And they actually had a good talent in Serena Deeb, and they made her a jobber.
Yeah, well, she just won Tuesday night. She won the NWA Women's title, and she defended it last night. I didn't get to see that match. I didn't finish the show just yet, so I don't know what the outcome was.
I was like, give me a break. You just took probably the best worker in the AEW Women's division, and you made her a jobber.
Well, you see,
Yeah.
that's the
Come on,
problem
Big
right there.
Swole sucks. Let's don't kid ourselves.
I know the problem with offense
Oh,
wrestling. So it is.
nope.
They got their friends in there, and their friends are making decisions.
That's exactly how it is. Tony Khan,
Mhm.
I'm not going to say any. I don't want to say nothing bad about him. He took his money. He started a wrestling organization, and he hired a bunch of wrestlers, people that were necessarily big in the Indies and in Japan, and he signed them all as executives. And then they hired all their friends.
Yep.
The thing about AEW, while it's still relatively fresh at only a year and some change old, it's good. It's mostly enjoyable to watch most of the time, but there is a lot of holes that need to be filled and a lot of kinks, such as the women's division there, the stupid comedy shit like Michael Nakazawa, with the baby oil and all that garbage, the stupid.
Ball dancing.
Oh, don't forget that great ball dancing with MJF
The
and Chris
ball
Jericho.
dancing.
Yeah, and the only thing that and I think that at this point, Jericho is at the point where in his career he doesn't give a shit what he's doing. You know why? Because he's also one of the executives there, so he's getting paid regardless.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And he's at the point like he's already been wrestling for 30 years. He's gonna retire in a few years. He doesn't give a shit. He's still gonna get paid because he's got an office position with them. So that's the reason why I feel like he just doesn't care.
He's also pitching ideas as well. So
Yeah.
it's just I don't know.
And there's some things out there that I really question what they're doing sometimes. And it just seems like, and no offense to Tony Khan, like I said, he just seems like a money mark. Like he's just putting up money. Here, hire this guy, hire this guy, hire this guy. Sure, no problem.
But
Here's the checkbook.
But in one thing for sure now, to me, if I had a football team, I'd be more concentrating on my football team than that wrestling career, because that wrestling career is going down the shitter.
They're making money because they have the IWC supporting them, the nerds. You know what I mean? And it's been like that even before the company even launched. About a year prior, they started printing up T-shirts, and everyone was just buying the shirts, and they hadn't even booked anything yet.
No.
Everyone
wanted their Jacksonville Jaguars shirts.
Yeah.
Well, what are they going to be? 0-14 again? 0-17 again.
He needs to, I don't know nothing about football, but they, I know that. And don't they own a soccer team as well?
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, that's what I heard. So that guy's got a lot of money. Either way, regardless. I don't think he cares if they lose. He's still getting paid.
You're pushing Orange Cassidy. He's no top guy. I'm sorry. He's a top.
See, oh my God. I can't believe I'm going to say this. Dan's going to laugh at me. I hated Orange Cassidy forever. Okay. It was, and hold up. And then I found out who he was. Okay. He apparently used to be Fire Ant in Jakara as part of the Colony, which was a team of masked wrestlers. And I always liked him and thought he was a pretty good worker. And then I found out that was Orange Cassidy later, and I was like, Jesus Christ, he just went from that to that. So, anyways, I hate the Orange Cassidy gimmick, but I've come around on it on certain things. Not everything, because I think it's the most ridiculous thing on earth, because I'm a guy that likes to watch traditional professional wrestling. I don't like necessarily hardcore stuff or comedy stuff, but I've come around on certain things with Orange Cassidy.
Really? Chris Jericho swimming in freaking orange juice?
Yes, that is, oh God. Like I said, he's at the point of his career, he doesn't give a shit what he does.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why.
That's when am I getting my next bubble?
Well, here's the thing of it. Even though, I'm just saying from my opinion, if I was a wrestler and I knew I didn't have, the time that my younger days are behind me now, I would like to have a little respect when I do officially retire.
Yeah. Well, I think that he might go out there, and when he retires, which, like I said, give it about 5 years. You know what I mean? At the most. He's going to go out there and he's going to put on a decent match with somebody. Who that will be, I have no clue. He might go back to WWE for one match. Who knows? At that point in his career, you never know. But I don't see it happening.
The thing that bothers me the most is how Chris Jericho butchers and buries the WWE when they're the ones who made him a star.
That's true. That is true.
To be honest, in WCW you were a cheesy Chris Jericho. That's what you were.
He had some good. Right. He had some good matches. He just wasn't allowed to do what he really wanted to do. And they did not want to help elevate him at all. They wanted to keep him down in opening card status. And obviously, when he came into WWE, he was a headliner right away, right from the jump. So.
He was the first undisputed champion.
Yep.
He beat The Rock and Steve Austin on the same night. He kept saying it.
True. Let's also see that they didn't let Chris Jericho do what he wanted in WCW. He goes to Vince, and he's allowed to have a little bit of creative freedom, but also some restrictions. And then he goes to AEW, and that's full on Chris Jericho.
Yes. So do you realize why Vince does restrict people? Obviously, because of he would have been swimming in orange juice in WWE, and Vince would have been like, "What the fuck is going on my show?" You know.
Well, he's definitely had too much bubbly because, God forbid.
Oh, it'll ruin your gut.
I think the only thing for now is the bubbly.
That's the only thing that gets me through Monday Night Raw sometimes.
Yeah.
I see it though, going back to like AEW's topic. Obviously it's only been around for over a year now. Now they're really starting to launch some certain things now that they got DVDs out.
Who makes them?
DigiView Entertainment.
Who is it?
It is.
No.
I'm sorry.
Grandmasters of Wrestling and Robin Down Under.
You've got to be kidding me. It's
no
that
way.
company? That's the same company?
That's what I would say.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous.
If
they were, I don't know if they were or not, but that's what I would use. Hey, Tony Khan wants to save money. He can call DigiView, and if he needs some money saving.
Well, good Lord, he needs to save money, but by getting rid of some of that people.
Well, you know what? I tell you what. After the DVDs that you guys reviewed, a couple days ago, I don't know now. I might pass up my off time now.
I just watched that yesterday. It's pretty comical. I own those DVDs. I bought them at the dollar store back in
there you go.
10, 15 years ago. So I don't have them any longer, but I ended up watching them. Anytime I see wrestling DVDs in the dollar store, I always pick it up, and I had to pick those up. And now those DVDs have become legendary. And Brian Last talks about them on Jim Cornette's podcast all the time, or maybe it's when he's on John Arezzi's podcast all the time. It's pretty. He always got some very pleasurable, nice things to talk about the Mighty Maccabee.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so now, obviously AEW's in the process, so they've already put out some merchandise. Now they got DVDs coming out. But I think the one thing they have to focus on that WCW failed on is, letting certain individuals, run and possibly bury that company, because obviously it's kind of reminiscing back to like Kevin Nash being like head booker. The only reason why you're in WCW is because you're buddies. How do you think guys like Sean Waltman and no offense to Sean, I mean, guys like one hell of an athlete, but like, how do you expect guys like Sean Waltman and all these other guys, booked WWE talents going on to WCW television? Like, who the fuck wants Virgil?
Yeah.
One thing I'm going to say, people are always getting on AEW about people jumping in to their organization, WWF guys. WWE, excuse me. There's no F anymore. I forgot. And complaining that it's just full of WWE guys. I'm just like, yeah, but if you remember back when, I don't know how old you guys are, but watching when you were a kid, I used to watch WWF, AWA, NWA and World Class, people used to go from company to company to company all the time. So it was never like a big deal. But for some reason, it was a big deal in WCW. It's a big deal in AEW. It's just people used to hop from territory.
Yeah, but what you're talking about there, back in those days, those were territorial days.
That's what I'm saying. They used to go from territory to territory.
They wanted, if they wanted somebody, to do their show, that right there, people never saw them in other places. So
Right.
that's why they did that. That's why
Right.
the wrestlers got exposure.
Right.
And to tell you the truth, that's what I think is missing today.
No, I 100% agree with you because that was a great system, great thing. I'm a huge fan of the territory days as well, and a collector of territory merchandise and programs and stuff. I love that stuff.
Yeah,
But I just think it's like okay, like it's really not that much different. It's just they're just trying to rebuild themselves elsewhere in a different company. It's pretty much the same deal. You know what I mean?
That's also the people that are like just raging about this great Wednesday Night War, how it's the greatest war of this century or whatever.
There's no war because there's no fucking ratings. The ratings are nothing compared to the Monday Night Wars of the 1990s. It's just like they're minuscule.
But here's the thing. I hear people say it's better than the Monday Night Wars.
Yeah, they're struggling to get 800,000
No, I'm going to say that
people watch.
It's a different era. The wrestling is different. Back then, in Mondays, you never know who was going to show up on one show or the other.
Yeah.
Somebody could just jump ship. Like, all of a sudden, Rick Rude showed up on 2 different programs.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Mick Foley fucking won the title on television. It's like they were doing shit like that. Sorry, guys, I swear a lot. They were doing shit like that to try to, keep the fans. I mean, so NXT does not do stuff like that. It's not like they're running to try to be like, hey, we're going to bring in an AEW guy. Yeah. It's just NXT is NXT. It's like basically 90% of the roster is former Ring of Honor guys. You know what I mean? So it's like a Ring of Honor with better production. And
here's the way. Well, you know what? Here's the way I see it. You got a football owner owning AEW. What does NXT do? They bring in somebody who used to play fucking football with fucking McCaffrey.
Yeah, a punter.
Get that guy off my TV, and it's not because I'm just like, he's doing his job. No, the guy's fucking terrible and annoying. It's not that I hate him because I'm supposed to hate him because he's a heel. No, I don't like him. No, his show sucks. He's just some fucking goofball radio actor, and now he's managing Orkin and Birch. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. That guy's annoying. I don't want to see that. And one of the other things is that me and Freak always discusses that celebrity involvement in professional wrestling is just atrocious. It's stupid. I understand they try to do it to try to bring in the audience, but I don't think Pat McAfee's bringing in anybody, to be honest with you. He's just annoying. That's it.
He's just bringing in the 2 people that watch his podcast. That's all.
Right. He's got two viewers. Shit, we got more viewers than him. That means. All right. So,
there you go.
Not by much, but
Yeah, no. I don't think. Yeah.
Go ahead, Danny.
I was gonna say, I think close enough for views, but I don't think close enough to have a war. But you never know.
Right, and I think it's like they're not even reaching 1 million each show. You know what I mean? I mean, it would be something to gloat about if you were over 1 million. But I mean, if back in Monday Night Raw, they were doing like 5-6 million viewers, if not higher. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That was like a show, and even like Monday Night Football suffered from the Monday Night Wars, that's never going to happen again. Mm-hmm. Back then it really suffered because it was a hot time for professional wrestling with the 2 shows.
It was hot. It was a bit of professional wrestling back then. It was hot. And you're right. The Monday Night Football suffered from that too.
Yeah, they did.
The part is I hate when people's like, "Oh, AEW beat NXT." I was like, "Big fucking deal. Who cares?" They beat developmental. They beat developmental guys, as you said, Kenny. They
beat them every week. I think this week was the first, not the first time, but it's like the second or third time that NXT
Yeah.
beat them. And the only reason they beat them is probably because it was Halloween Havoc. They built it up as Halloween Havoc. Any other time they beat them, it was either pre-taped. AEW, I think, was pre-taped, or they didn't go up against NXT. So
One thing that bothers me, we lost. Oh, but we won in demographics. What's that? You second?
I'm so tired of hearing about ratings. I don't actually care about ratings, so I never really bring them up. It's just as long as I'm sitting there, I'm entertained. I'm gonna watch both shows. I got my laptop watching one show, and I got my television while I'm watching the other, or I just watch them back to back. You know what I mean?
That stuff just makes me so pissed off.
They got the demo, pal. The demo.
Yeah. Oh, Jericho. Yeah, we won demographically.
Who cares? Big fucking deal. Big fucking deal. You were swimming in a pool of orange juice 2 weeks ago. So.
Yeah. Big fucking deal.
That did nothing for your career. Like I'm not going to say he's ruining his career. I'm just saying that he's at the point where he can do whatever he wants. AEW, yes, it's a breath of fresh air, but like I said, there's a lot of holes that need to be filled in, a lot of kinks that need to be worked out. You know, there's some characters I don't necessarily care for. They signed all the top indie talent. Some of them.
They had the best tag team, FTR, formerly the Revival, and they didn't do nothing with them.
They're still the champions, right? Yeah, they're still the champions. But I mean, they're not. They've wrestled. They've only wrestled really a handful of times. I think they won their second match. They won the titles in their second match or something like that, second or third. Yeah, but
the bad part, they're already doing the same dumb shit that the rest of them are doing.
Yeah, my thing is that they're underutilized in WWE, FTR, the Revival, whatever. They're a great tag team. My favorite modern tag team. Because they reminded me of old school, and
like
they're still.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's my favorite tag team of all time. Arn and Tully are my favorite tag team of all time. So to see those two on TV now is just amazing at that age. You know what I mean? Seeing them as managers and such. Now but watching, I just think they need to do more with FTR to really elevate them in AEW. I don't think they're doing a terrible job. I just think that, wrestling guys like Lucha what's that tag team? The Lucha whatever? Jurassic Express. Excuse me. Sorry. Yeah. It's like, I don't mind Jurassic Express, but they're not really, they just do it all gimmicky, and then comedy starts to get involved, and that's where it's like.
Come on, let's don't kid ourselves. The AEW tag team division is not that stuff.
Right.
I'm getting tired of people saying that we shit on them. We do not. I think wrestling, all federations now are shitty as hell right now. And it's so bad to me that I hardly watch it. Like I said, I go on YouTube, I do little snippets of it.
All right.
All the time, I'm watching old time wrestling. I got DVDs of it, and I watch it. It brings me back to, hey, this is what wrestling's supposed to be anymore.
Well, I agree with that part, but I think that wrestling today, I don't think is necessarily terrible. There's so many different products you can find. You know what I mean? All you got to do is look for it to find what you like. One of the things I like, I love the modern NWA, but they're just doing, on hiatus since the pandemic. But they're associated with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, which I watch every week on Fight, and I think that's a great television show if you like old school style wrestling. It really is. And the current Ring of Honor, they're doing really great now during the Pure tournament. I know I'm trying to push Dan to watch the shit. He just keeps laughing at me and not watching it. But I think Ring of Honor is rebooting itself, basically, and it's doing really well. I think the shows have been amazing the last 6 or 7 weeks.
I'm not really blaming the product here.
Right.
I'm just blaming, the epidemic that's going on. I can understand why some of them are it's just so hard to do things now. It's so hard to do, and some of them don't want to risk getting it.
Right. So which I understand. I completely understand. Things are starting to shut back down up here in Connecticut. I live in town of Hamden now. One of the high schools closed because somebody got the virus. And my son's school, I'm working from home now. I'm not going back until rumor is in probably the summer of next year. So if that even happens, because they keep pushing it back every 2-3 months. So we're gonna have to see what happens. So yeah, I mean everybody's suffering from wrestling companies, but wrestling has been the only thing that's actually been around. Sports has canceled half the seasons, so wrestling has been the only thing. Most of the companies have been creating some sort of content, at least, to try to keep the fans happy and entertained. So you got to give them that at least. You know what I mean?
I do. I'm just saying, it's just.
It's just not that entertaining to watch.
It's just not entertaining.
I do. I think Raw right now are some of the worst shows I've ever watched in professional wrestling in my entire years, and I've seen some bad wrestling over the years. Trust me, I've been watching wrestling close to 40 years. I've seen some shitty wrestling. This is right now is possibly the worst period for Monday Night Raw.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I used to think SmackDown was the worst show that they had. Now it's even better than Raw. Go figure. Probably it's like Raw every hour has trouble keeping people interested from hour to hour. It's just starts off pretty strong, then it just gets lower and lower as time goes on. A lot of times they'll ruin it. They'll ruin it in the first 10 minutes for me sometimes, and I'll shut it off and never go back to it.
Mm-hmm. Like, I'm always surprised I don't see someone on that Thunderdome asleep.
3 hours.
Well, it's against the rules, man.
It is. They're going to kick you out of the Thunderdome if that's the case.
3 hours anymore. I can't do it. I refuse. I will not watch 3 hours of it no more.
Yeah, I don't. I think it's not bad to have a 3-hour show if they were going to build it up like it was an event every week. Like, you know how they do really good pay-per-views where it's just wrestling from skit to skit and then in between interviews? Yeah. Do it like that instead of some stupid talk show and then some stupid mishap and comedy. Yeah. Like, I'm not entertained by a Moment of Bliss. I'm not entertained by the Kevin Owens show. I'm not entertained by, let's be serious. They're not as cool as things like Piper's Pit or the Brother Love show, shit like that. You don't have the same charisma or excitement when coming out doing that shit. It's not entertaining to me.
Agreed.
Yeah. I could pretty much say the same thing. And, going back to, these whole Wednesday night wars, I think the only thing that, these are different from like the Monday Night Wars is just lack of, character creativity. And obviously with the whole ratings changed, throughout the years, you're not really out there censoring yourself as being like one of those tough superstars who can actually cut like an actual good promo. Nowadays everybody's just practically focused on the wrestling, which, nothing's wrong with that. Nothing's wrong with good wrestling. I mean, even though it's shit half the time. But other than that, you're missing like key points. You're, like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, what made Stone Cold Steve Austin so good? His censorship. Obviously, the way he went out there and delivered every single week.
And his unpredictability as well. That's another thing. Right. These days, it's so predictable.
Same thing with The Rock cutting great promos.
Yeah. And what happens when he comes back? Those are probably some of the highest rated episodes that they do in years. The other thing with that is, everything is scripted. All the promos are scripted nowadays. They don't get to speak off the rip. The other thing with that is they work different style matches for television than they do for pay-per-view. So they're only allowed to keep up on a certain pace, working Raw, working SmackDown, as opposed to working a pay-per-view where they get a little bit more open room to do stuff. But it's just not fair because it's like, what would happen when you would go and say Steamboat and Flair were working the fucking television match and they were just allowed to go for 60 minutes on NWA Pro or World Championship Wrestling? You get what I'm saying here? You got some classic wrestling. It's like they're afraid to put that kind of stuff on television because they think people aren't going to care.
Just imagine if The Rock showed up, right? And someone goes, well, here's your promo that we've written down for you. He'd just tumble it up and throw it away.
Yeah.
He goes, I know what the hell I'm saying. Yeah.
Right.
You can't write for somebody.
Right.
You don't know what, you can't write.
Right. Yeah, you can't. It's like, first off, you listen to the way they're talking. Nobody in this world speaks the way some of those guys do. It's like you sound like a moron. Yeah.
Just do this. Just give them some bullet points. I want you to go talk about your match. Talk about this. Talk about that. Talk about this. Your own way. Do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, do it.
Well,
It's not that hard.
Well, see, not only that, but they also watch TV completely wrong backstage.
Oh
It's
yeah.
always just to the side. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody watches TV like this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right, Danny, what else you got?
Something else that I wanted to bring up too was the past pay-per-view that went by, Hell in a Cell, which honestly, I mean, it wasn't a bad event. I mean, obviously he had Thanos taking on Jey Uso. Oh, excuse me, Roman Reigns. I don't know what the fucking deal was with that fucking Infinity Gauntlet for a fucking glove. I mean, obviously that wasn't supposed to go more than one match, as Jay or Jimmy, whoever the fuck it is, Roman, faced each other at Clash of Champions. Obviously that progressed. Storyline's not bad. It definitely could be better, WWE wise. But just like going throughout the card and everything, I think the best match of the night was probably the Hell in a Cell match between Sasha and Bailey. Obviously, they were utilizing the kendo sticks more, just more ways than one than just, hitting them over the head or hitting them over the sternum. It's like, you had fucking Bailey playing Darth Maul, putting two kendo sticks together. Like, all right, bitch, like,
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's what my point is. Why have so many Hell in a Cell matches? Like, Hell in a Cell matches used to be so spectacle, unexpected. Nowadays you have all these gimmick pay-per-views. Oh, at Hell in a Cell, we're going to have 4 Hell in a Cell matches. That just,
We're going to have 3.
it's a waste.
What's that?
I always said you sometimes you have too much of a good thing.
Yes. And then it becomes redundant. It becomes boring. I don't look forward to it. I overall thought the pay-per-view was just drab. They started off with, the main event. It was probably, I guess you would picture it as a double main event with the 2 title matches. And I'm just like, I can't believe they put that match on first. And then it took up the majority of the first hour. They started it right after 7. It ended up close to 8 is when they just completely washed away from it. And I was just completely bored throughout that whole match. A lot of people loved it, thought it was a really good match. I was not convinced by any means.
Right. And, the whole thing with the whole red cage and everything, it's like, it's too gimmicky nowadays.
Come
it's
on.
just.
Give me the old-fashioned Hell in a Cell from 98, hell, even 2000, for God's sakes.
Right.
Don't give me no red cage. That someone just used freaking Windows window paint on it. And freaking just pasted it on there.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, that's right.
Let's use Microsoft Windows on this cell.
Oh, man. I just, like I said, Sasha and Bailey was the best match of that show. Everything else was just kind of whatever. Randy and Drew was pretty decent. I'm not a huge Randy fan at all. I like Drew, but that was pretty decent, I thought. But everything else was just it's forgettable. It was a forgettable show to me.
Yeah. Like
Right.
I don't like how Randy Orton's WWE champion. Like he don't need it.
He doesn't. He's already held it 13 times prior.
By the way, Randy Orton nowadays is boring.
All right, I'm going to tell you something. I always thought he was boring, but that's just me. So
with green sleeveless hoodie.
Yeah. I'm just not a fan of his. I've been a fan of his father's since I was a kid,
Maybe like the last time I was like a fan of his was maybe like 06.
Yeah.
That was sad.
Oh, his father though. The only thing about his father, he wore a cast through his whole career. So cast on and through his career. So
Yeah, during the 80s, he wore that for a good five or so years before he finally got it removed.
Like the last time I was an Orton fan was 2006. Like when he was the killer. Once you went to that Viper bull crap.
What was that? And then the Legend Killer I thought was pretty interesting, but it's just his reactions sometimes kind of irritate me, and there's been rumors of him not being a very nice person, so that does not help it at all either.
Yeah.
So.
But there's one thing about it though, when Edge and Orton teamed together to take on DX, they're the only ones that ever could take care of DX.
Yeah.
Which that right here was that right here is what it was all about. That right here is what they booked it for to be. And well, they succeeded with that right there, which is that right there is what it was supposed to have been done anyway.
Right.
So
Your favorite tag team, Tommy, Viscera and Charlie Haas, right?
Oh no.
So what?
Remember when Viscera and Charlie Haas teamed up out of the blue?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Man,
Oh,
I don't remember that.
Don't miss it. Yeah, I'll blame you for missing it.
Jesus,
You know what? And I'll never forget the time fucking Charlie Haas used to impersonate everybody. Like, he came out as Great Khali. I think he came out as Bret Hart one time.
Yeah,
it was just like, oh.
JB Haas.